Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Work Reimagined Summit. My name is Georgianne Gettin, and I'll be your host for today. We have so much in store and so much packed for you all today, and it's all going to be how are we reimagining work? So, work has truly transformed over the last 5 years, and what's up for the next 5, 10, 15 years is going to be so transformative for us all. It's going to be very beneficial. It's going to be very require us to be constantly learning, to be constantly curious. And that's where we got the idea for the Work Reimagined Summit. How can we think now about what the future of work looks like so that way, as employees, as employers, as small businesses, we can be prepared, set our teams up for success, and set our businesses up for success? So let's dive right in. Alrighty, so again, welcome to the Work Reimagined Summit. I am your host, Georgianne Gettin, and this summit is produced by GSD Solutions. So let's dive in. So a little bit of background about me. I've been a serial entrepreneur for the last 15 plus years, and I have a lot of experience in IT, AV, and operations. I've done hundreds of events. I've done hundreds of tested hundreds of apps and tech support and all the things, because I just love how technology has allowed us to work better, live better, play better, and just evolve our lives. And while technology is a great thing to add in, I do know that there are gaps within technology, as well as there are learning curves for us to evolve with the technology. So that's why we created the Work Reimagined Summit, to help fill in those gaps, especially for individuals, right? As well as small business owners who may not have a full team of people coming in every 6 months, every 4 months to do trainings on what's coming up, what's next, where it is your job independently to figure it out for your organization so that way you can set yourself up for success. That's what I want you to do today, is to get ready to set yourself up for success. Where's everybody else tuning in from? So if you could go ahead and put in the chat, where are you watching from right now? What's your name and where you're watching from? And what type of company do you work for? Do you do freelancing? Do you work for a large organization? Do you work for a small business? Are you a founder? Are you a startup? So go ahead and put that in the comments. Let me know who you are and where you're joining from. I'm joining, while you're doing that, I'm here joining from New York. I am a founder as well as I am a creator. So definitely connect with me on LinkedIn as well as on YouTube. So what are you going to get out of the summit today, right? You're going to have a deeper understanding of the future of work. As I mentioned previously, the future of work is constantly evolving, and the future of work 10, 20 years ago is the current work that we're experiencing now, hybrid, remote, flexibility, etc. And it's going to continuously evolve. So we're going to talk a little bit about what work looked like in the past, what work currently looks like in the present, and what the future of work will look like. We're going to also dive into how you can discover new ways to improve your work and life, right? How can you use different tools that are currently available to you to improve the way you work, so that way you improve your quality of life? We no longer have to work 12-hour, 15-hour shifts, depending on your industry, right? Shout out to all the nurses working in 12-hour shifts, but the work week has significantly evolved. I know some places right now are having summer Fridays where you have Fridays off. And so how are we maintaining what we do? How are we scaling up as work continuously evolves? And how are we making sure that we have time for ourselves, have time for our personal lives, have time for our families or friends, so that way we can be fulfilled on a holistic view, not just have a good work life and everything else doesn't really work out so well. And then lastly, you'll learn how to leverage the most up-to-date technologies, right? Again, technology is constantly changing. There's always the new app, new software, new platform. Something is always new. How do you manage it all? How do you wrap your head around the things that are always constantly changing? And what things out of those tools should you actually be aware of? Because again, there are so many, but which ones should you actually care about and be aware of? So we're going to dive into that as well. So on the left, right, you may be feeling like this, right? Where you, like I said, you see so many tools. You see so many, every day you get a new ad. This is the newest thing, brand new update, upgrade. I know just the other day I got an update on my Mac and I'm just like, oh my gosh, every 6 months, every year there's an update, an upgrade, and it is very overwhelming. It is very confusing. And if you want to try to understand it, you have to spend hours, even days, scraping through YouTube tutorials, reviews, reading documentation, reading blogs. And that is very time intensive. So when we put on these summits here at GSD Solutions is because we want you to come, maybe spend an hour, maybe spend 90 minutes with us and get all of that information broken down to you in an easy to understand way. So we're going to go from all this mess to on the right side where, this is where we're headed. So it's clear to understand. You can separate what's noise from what's actually things that you should be paying attention to and actions that you have to take in order to scale, in order to grow, in order to evolve yourself and your business. No matter what your role is in the organization, you have to understand how you best fit into that picture. So we're headed from all this jazz to smooth, clear understanding without spending hours or days to get that understanding. So let's talk a little bit about how we worked in the past, right? And this, we all know maybe about, let's say, about 90 years ago, assembly line folks were working all together. There was a person that's like a manager there telling you what to do. And you had maybe one or two tasks that you did repeatedly over and over. Maybe here and there would be a quick way to optimize it. There's always this funny commercial, this skit from I Love Lucy, where she's in the bakery. And if anybody knows that skit, if you want to go ahead and put it in the chat, let me know. And, they start with the assembly line and it's okay, 1, 2, okay, no problem. 1, 2, okay, no problem. But then the line starts getting faster and faster. And then she's just trying to eat the donuts and it just gets really, really messy. But the reason why I bring up that story is because that's how work used to be, right? This is in the past how work used to be. Then it slowly evolved. Everyone's in cubicles. The manager is still there kind of instructing you what to do, what not to do. Your colleague is, put your hand over the cubicle wall and there they are. But everyone kind of had their unique space to work, to interact, to do what they had to do. You may have to step to a person's office to get some documentation signed, right? But being in person, being connected, but still having some form of personal space was important to the way and the process in which we needed to do work. I have to send Jim this documentation. I'm just going to bring it to his office, have him sign it, then I'll fax it to where it needs to go, type it up on the computer. I need to print it out in order for someone else to have access to it, right? In the past, there was an internet, slowly internet started becoming more available. But if you needed to send something to someone, you're putting it in a USPS, a mailing package, and physically sending it to them. They signed it, then they physically sent it back to you, right? The sped up way of that was faxing. And now, as we know, we have emailing. So now let's talk a little bit about how we work in the present. So nowadays, cubicles are being seen less and less. Now we have this open space, collaborative space type work style, which it's bittersweet. I have my opinions, but I'm not going to share too many of them because I really want to dive into the future of work. But this was more interactive, right? You want to turn around, you want to talk to someone. There's a lot of collaboration going on, a lot of interaction going on. It was transparent, so you could see what a person was working on. So there were many pros as well as cons to how this system works. And due to the pandemic, even more hybrid work started coming into play, where maybe you were fully remote, or maybe you're in person, or you're doing a little bit of both. And with that, you still have a strong list of tasks to do. But the negative part of this, right? Meetings. We're having a meeting about the meeting that's going to meet in the meeting. And meetings drive me crazy. And I'm pretty sure a lot of us experience this where meetings drive us up the wall. And that's because oftentimes when you're in a meeting, you're not actually getting work done. You're talking about what work you're going to be doing. And while that has its value, right, a collaborative work session, an informational session, this could have been an email. Truth be told, this could have been an email. And so how do we have that balance where we allow people to do autonomous work, asynchronous work, as well as command their own space, get their tasks done without having to feel overwhelmed, stressed out, or getting burnt out? So that's where we shift into the future of work. So the future of work, I'm going to break it down into these 5 buckets, right? Where these are some topics and trends that are coming up as we evolve the workplace and as we evolve. And it doesn't matter what type of workplace you're in, whether you're working full-time, part-time, salary, corporate job, startup, small business, freelancing, gig work, doesn't matter. Because what a big thing about the future of work is that all of those pieces of work that we thought were separated are now being combined into this one economy of how we work. So let's go through them. I'm just going to read them through one by one, and then we're going to break them down piece by piece. And as I'm going through this, if you have any questions, definitely submit them to the chat. I want this to be an interactive session where it's not just me spitting information at you, but it's you letting me know what you want to learn. And if you're watching this in the future, right, the replay will be available. If you're watching this in the future, same thing. I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know what questions people have, because that's what we specialize in here at GSD Solutions, is helping folks get those questions answered so they have a clear vision of what's happening, how it's happening, and things of that nature. So let's dive in. First up, we have the rise of remote and hybrid work, right? As we saw in those couple of pictures just now, is that people want flexible work. People want to be able to work autonomously. The bittersweet part about that is that certain organizations don't know if they can trust their employees to do that. Certain individuals don't have the skill sets needed in order to manage their time, execute on their work while not being physically in an office, while not being physically dressed up. So we're going to dive into that in just a few. The second thing is upskilling and reskilling for automation. Information is changing so fast. This session right now that we're doing, right, the Work Reimagined, is a version of upskilling. You're learning what's out there, you're learning what's coming, you're learning what's from the past, you're learning and evolving with us, because everything is changing so fast. And if you're not paying attention to what's happening, you're going to miss an opportunity, and that can make or break if you still have this job, if you still have this client, if you still are able to do this work. So being able to keep up with that is essential. How are you learning? Where are you learning? Are you making time in your work week, your work day, to learn, to upskill, to reskill, and evolve with the times? Then next, we're going to go talk about the employer to employee relationship, right? How are organizations interacting with their employees, and vice versa? How are employees interacting with their organizations and their employer? Do you have good communication? Is there HR there? And especially with smaller businesses, you may not have a whole HR department. The CEO, maybe the marketing manager, the HR lead, and accounting. So if you're having an issue and you're like trying to talk it through with your CEO, but they're also in charge of HR, it may not sync up. So how are we managing employer and employee relationships? And then then we're going to talk about the gig economy, fractional work, and freelancing, right? There's so many different ways to work in modern day, right? It's not just the flat way that we were used to from before, where just like you have a job, you go, whether it's 9 to 5, whether it's part-time, to 2 to 10, whatever your schedule might be. Work has evolved. Most people are now having multiple jobs, or a job plus a side hustle. How does that work? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And then lastly, the one that everyone's been waiting for, the impact of artificial intelligence, aka AI. How are we leveraging, or how are we thinking about AI, and how does it impact the work that we do, and how will it impact us for the future of work? So let's dive in and break these down one by one. First, starting with the rise of remote and hybrid work, right? The key thing here is understanding how to control your schedule. Not everyone has the set of tools and skill sets required to be able to say, I'm going to wake up at said time. I'm going to dedicate a space in my home for my work, and I'm going to actually work. We build habits. Over time, we've built habits of going to school, right? Waking up at a certain time, putting on a uniform so that, we get into work attire, uniform, and then we depart, take our commute. So you build this system of things that you do to associate with your body and your mind to say, I am now at work. And then when you have the opportunity to work remotely or to work hybrid, you're not doing those same habits. And so your brain has lost the connection. So have you ever experienced where you try, when you first started remote working or hybrid working, where you just woke up, rolled out of bed, got to the laptop, got to your computer, and you're just like, I don't feel like doing this. I don't feel motivated. You're getting distracted. And that's because your brain hasn't made a new connection between this is how I work now. This is where I work now. So some strategies for that is rebuilding that system, creating a routine that allows you to say, this is going to be moving my mental space from I am home. So even though I'm physically still at home, I'm physically at my local coffee shop, I am at work. I am doing work. I am at work doing work. So that's one of the things that we need to keep in mind. How to control your schedule. Next, leveraging technology to find and complete your daily projects. Are you using a task management system? Are you, communicating well? Are you automating emails? Like, how are you communicating and leveraging technology to ensure that your daily tasks are completed? Because now you have more and more technology at your disposal, but what I'm realizing is that a lot of people are nervous. A lot of people are saying, when I do it manually, it takes me 2 hours, and that's how I plan my day. And if I was to use this automation tool, it'll take me 30 minutes. Then how do I fill that next hour and a half? Or what if my team tries to add more tasks to my plate? Or what if I get overwhelmed? Or what if the technology breaks? There's a lot of questions there. But the key thing here is going to be tied to upskilling and reskilling. Learning how to properly use that technology will take time. Then testing it out will also take time. And then leveraging that technology so that way it helps you instead of takes away your task, right? It's allowing you to be more smoother in your workflow process. Then next, we're going to talk a little bit about international communication. So just kind of cross-border communications. How are you communicating with your team? Are you all using Slack? Are you using WhatsApp? Are you using a workplace communication tool? Like, how are you ensuring that you're letting your team know what's going on? If you're stuck, tapping into a person for a review of a project, you need to know how to use the technology so that way you can directly communicate with your team and efficiently communicate with your team. And then lastly, asynchronous work, which simply means maybe because of remote work and as well as a hybrid team, maybe someone is in a completely different time zone. You may have a team member that's in Hong Kong and you might be based in New York, and your schedules are literally flipped. So when it's 9 a.m. there, it's 9 p.m. here, and vice versa. So how do you work with a person that is not working at the same time that you're working? How do you set that schedule up? So understanding that is going to be key to ensuring that you're set up for success when it comes to remote and hybrid work. So essentially what it's going to look like, it's a mixture of both, and knowing how to successfully do work in either venue. So whether it's at home, at a coffee shop, wherever you want to remotely work from, and then being able to also set yourself up for success if you need to go into an office for a day. Because what I've seen happen is, and I've been a victim of this too, where it's like when you work remotely and virtually so much, you forget how to interact and how to work in an office. And when you work in an office too much, you don't have a routine and a system for you to work remotely. So making sure that you have a plan of action of how do I work virtually and how do I work in person. One strategy I'll share here is when I first started working remotely, I dedicated a space in my home this is my work area. If I'm sitting on this chair, wearing this type of outfit, that means I am mentally at work. That got my brain to say I am at work. It communicated to my family that was there, I am at work when I'm in this position, so that they understood that this is not just me hanging out at the computer at home, it's me in work. So just making sure you have dedicated workspace. And we have a blog on the GSD Solutions website that talks a little bit more about how you can set up dedicated workspace in your home so that way you can be more productive when working from home or working remotely. Now let's dive into upskilling. And actually, before we dive in, are there any questions? So again, make sure you're submitting your questions to the chat. We're going to go through the Q&A, the questions at the end of the session, but make sure you're submitting your questions in the chat. Next, we're going to discuss upskilling and reskilling for automation. Understanding what is your learning style. This is so key. Do you learn through visuals? Do you learn through audio? Do you learn through testing? Do you learn through writing it down? How do you prefer to learn? Do you need to be in a classroom? Can you take a remote class? How do you like to learn? Because comprehending and understanding deeply what your learning style is will allow you to know that when it is time for reskilling, where do you go? I personally have done webinars and workshops on YouTube or just short videos. I have gone into physical classes. I have done a mixture of the two. I've gone to conferences. I like to read articles. I like to listen to podcasts. So for myself, I personally do prefer visuals when I am learning, but I've learned how to learn in different ways. So I know that's a little bit meta where, I learn how to learn. But being open to different learning styles and maybe learning a second type of learning style will be helpful for you no matter what form the material is coming to you, to be able to comprehend it and then take advantage of those new skills so that way you can be successful in your position or in your organization. Next, you want to seek out opportunities to learn new trends. So following accounts, following pages, newsletters, things that will give you the information in bite-sized chunks. And that's what we do on our GSD Solutions blog as well as our YouTube channel. We try to make those updates, 5, 10, maybe even shorter videos, so that way people can come on, watch a quick thing, and get the update that they need. And if they do want to dive into it deeper, then they could read the full 40 pages of documentation. But just knowing what's happening. For example, right now there's a big shift from Workplace by Meta, which is Facebook's workplace communication intranet tool. They're shutting down, and there's a big transition over to Work Vivo by Zoom. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about Work Vivo by Zoom in the second part, where we talk about small and medium-sized business tools, but we're having a workshop with them. So if you didn't even know about that change just now and your team is currently on Workplace by Meta, then let's talk, because there's so many, again, changes happening day by day, and it's really hard for anyone to keep up with all the changes that are happening. So we try our best to stay at that forefront, to put on these informational sessions, so that way others can know what's going on and how they could pivot, update, and interact, so that they can learn what to do next with the future of work that's coming up. And then lastly, ask questions and lead with curiosity. No one has all the answers, but we all have questions. So ask good questions. Ask questions that'll help you understand what's going on, so that way you don't have to be overwhelmed, feel confused, right? Lead with curiosity. Oh, what is that new tool? What is that called? Is there a way to do this easier? Is there a way to do this faster? And leveraging the technologies out there, right? You could even ask AI, how, what is the newest technologies for XYZ topic, XYZ task. And you can get a short list that then you explore it based on if one of the topics jump out at you, right? And now we're going to move on to employee relationship. This is so important. So this is where I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into what I just mentioned. So having a modern intranet. So intranet is pretty much the internal communication system for that organization. So think of it as like a Facebook channel, but for your inside of your business. And in the past, intranet would be a part of your company's website. They would have links to things. Here's how to access HR. Here's how to access these forms. Here's our training, et cetera, et cetera. And as we've evolved, intranets have now become more interactive. So one really popular intranet was previously Workplace by Meta, and they're in the process of shutting down. But a new, well, not so new, but new to us, the workplace communication intranet is called Work Vivo. And guess who is behind Work Vivo? Work Vivo is currently owned by Zoom. Yes, Zoom, that does meetings and webinars and events. What? Like, I know most of you are probably confused of how does that happen, but that's why we're doing a workshop with them next week, to talk a little bit more around what they're doing in the space of workplace, one workplace, let's call it that. And Zoom recently updated significantly to focus on being a workplace communication tool. So whether you're using Zoom meetings to communicate in a meeting within your team, or you're using Work Vivo for your long-term intranet and training and employee engagement, then you're still interacting on the same tool, which allows for better usage and ease of use with your employees and employers. And the next thing is employee engagement. Are you keeping your employees engaged? And employee engagement can be measured in so many different ways, from our folks, feeling good. How are they scoring themselves as well as their team, as well as their boss on, quarterly reviews? Is somebody coming in? Are they happy when they come in? Are they, doing high quality work, or are they just lagging behind, right? How is your employees engaging with yourself as an organization, as well as engaging with each other? Next, how do we measure success, right? How are we doing that? And an intranet tool, right? Employee to employer relationship can also help with this. Hiring and firing, promoting, super important. And there's so many different tools. Again, we're just going to keep talking about tools, and we're going to dive into some examples of tools in the next 15 minutes or so. But we want to understand that these are the things that we want to think about, right? These topics here on the screen are things that we want to think about when we envision an employee to employer relationship. And then lastly, tracking work progress. Are you growing? Are you, ready for a bonus? Do you need a raise? Do you need a new position? How are we ensuring that our employees are engaged, they're happy, they're communicating, and then they will grow with the organization? We all heard about quiet quitting. Now there's quiet vacationing. Everything is becoming quiet. as well as people leaving organizations in 2 to 3 years versus staying 10, 15, 20 years as they did in the past. Is it possible that a modern day organization will have individuals stay that long? Absolutely. But we have to consider these things when we think of the future of work. How does the organization and the employee relate to one another so that way it's a healthy relationship all the way around for the individual's personal growth, professional growth, and their personal life? Now, gig economy and fractional work and freelancing. Everyone at this point has at least 2 jobs. Inflation is inflating and it's about to pop. But pretty much gig economy just means like side hustle gig work that you could pick up just randomly, an hour here, hour there. Think of things like Instacart, think of things like Uber Eats, even Uber potentially. Then we have fractional work. This is where a person may work for an organization, but they're a fractional employee, so they're not on full-time benefits. They may own their own company and coming in as a consultant or a contractor. And freelancing works in a very similar way. With all 3 of these types of work methods, you are responsible for planning your days. Everyone here is an entrepreneur. And even though you might have a company name that you're associated with, you are responsible for making sure that you're managing your time, you're managing your task, you're doing financial planning and management. So planning, how much do I need to make? And then managing, am I getting this money in? Did I send this invoice? Is this client saying yes, right? Managing those transactions. And then lastly, leveraging tools to help you outsource as well as automate some parts of your day-to-day work, because there's going to be literally, again, you are in charge. You have to set up that schedule, right? Are you using calendar invites? Are you using alarms? Are you using social media tools? Like, how are you leveraging the tools that are out there so that way, even though it's you managing yourself for this gig economy, fractional or freelancing work, but it feels like you have a team. It feels like, oh, there's 10 of us here, right? How are you doing that and leveraging the tools available to you? And now the final piece here in this 5 trends for future of work is going to be the impact of artificial intelligence. The key thing when we think of AI is to make sure that we're leveraging AI to make work easier. AI will not take your job if you know how to use AI. If you don't know how to use AI, then that's when your job is at risk, right? That's when AI could replace you. But if you know how to use AI to be better, faster, give stronger results, to really amplify your work, your job is secure. You're good to go. How do you, for example, communicating and writing a prompt? Not many people know how to write a proper prompt or ask a well cohesive question in a chat GPT or a Gemini. Many people don't know how to do that, or even Copilot. And so if you understand how AI works and how you should and could use it, that is how you're going to be able to leverage it for your advantage when it comes to the future of work. So now we're going to dive into a little bit about how can small and medium-sized businesses use AI and automation. So far in this presentation, I've talked about the 5 trends, and just to recap those 5 trends, we're going to show them again here, right? The rise of remote and hybrid work, upskilling and reskilling for automation, employer-to-employee relationship, gig work, fractional work, freelancing, and then lastly, the impact of artificial. Have to leverage these things in various ways. But as a small or medium-sized business, you're not at the financial status to be able to tackle all of these things or have internal trainings every single day, every other day, to really support your team in accomplishing this. So we were going to start small. Here on the screen, we have a couple of tools that every single small and medium-sized business should know about. So I'm going to start from the left of the screen and move my way over to the right. So at the top, we have StreamYard. So StreamYard is a streaming solution that allows you to stream to multiple platforms at one time. And this is a great way to get reach, get social media communications out to your different audiences. So if you have a LinkedIn, if you have a YouTube, if you have a Facebook, if you have Instagram, etc., this will allow you to stream to multiple platforms and communicate with your potential clients, your potential stakeholders, your past clients, and more. And the recording that you get, you could create internal trainings, you could create webinars, however you want to execute it, but StreamYard is a must-know tool. It makes it so much simpler to really communicate with that audience that you're trying to engage. Then we have Calendly. Are we still emailing back and forth to try to coordinate a time to meet? I know I'm not doing that. And so Calendly allows it to become way easier for you to just copy the times that you're actually available. It syncs up all your calendars. And if we're doing fractional work, if we're doing gig work, if we're doing freelancing work, you may have 4 to 5 companies, maybe, or less, that you're working with, and that each one of them have an email for you, a different calendar. And so how do you sync up the calendars to know that the time that you're truly available, and then be able to send a potential person that wants to have a meeting with you the proper schedule of your availability? Well, Calendly has been my solution. I'm currently working with about 7 email addresses. I know. Don't judge me. But using this tool allows me to truly say, this is when I'm available, and it automatically sends a Zoom link. It sends a calendar invite, and all I have to do is just send out that link to a person, and then they could then schedule the time, and it's on my calendar, and I just show up at the meeting. So much time off my hands versus going back and forth. Are you available Tuesday? Are you available Saturday? Are you available Friday? Back and forth, and that's going to use a significant amount of time from my schedule. Then we have Slack, right? A day-to-day employee communication tool. We have Canva for graphic design, make it easier to create PowerPoints. This PowerPoint that I'm going through right now was made on Canva in less than an hour. So how can we, and with Canva and tools like that, you could interact with other employees on your team, contractors that you're working with, right? How do you make sure that it's accessible, that no matter who is working on it can be able to see what's up, make edits, make changes, confirm, comment, etc. Then up top, we have ClickUp, which is a task management solution that has now involved AI to make sure that you're able to see the tasks that you have coming up in like a Gantt chart, as well as like a Trello type board, as well as different individual tasks, and you can set stages. Is it in progress? Is it done? Is it complete? To check the status of work, especially when you're working on a remote team. I can't just call you real quick or just move over to the side of my cubicle to say, hey, John, are you done this task? By looking into the ClickUp tool, I can see that he's marked it in progress or in review, or there needs to be a status update, so that way we all can take the best next step for that team. And then next to that, we have ChatGPT, which we all know is an AI platform that helps us to think through as well as ask questions and get more data and research done smoother. Then we have Notion, which is a documentation platform. Loom, which helps us with screen recording and screen sharing. Rank Central, meetings, events, Zoom itself. Listen, there are so many features of Zoom. So have you ever heard, let's do a little quiz. Have you ever heard of Zoom Work, not Zoom Workplace, have you ever heard of Zoom Clips? Let me know, yes or no, in the comments. Have you ever heard of Zoom Events, which is different from a Zoom meeting or webinar? Have you ever heard of Work Vivo by Zoom? Well, before this webinar, because I said it a couple times in this webinar. Have you ever heard of Zoom Revenue Accelerator? So if you're in sales or on the sales team or do the sales for your organization, you definitely want to hear about the Zoom Revenue Accelerator. Do you know that Zoom has an AI companion that will take notes during the meeting and then send you a recap after the meeting? So there's so many features of Zoom that people are underutilizing, and it's included with your Zoom account subscription. Let me say that again. A lot of these features are included with your Zoom account subscription, which majority of people already have a Zoom account subscription. Then we have G Suite. There's so many tools there. Hootsuite, which is helping with social media scheduling, and Zapier. Oh my gosh, I cannot stop talking about Zapier. So the way Zapier works is that, let's say you have 2 different software tools that you're using. Let's pick 2 from this screen. Let's say we have Canva and we have Notion. And we want, every time we make a design or every time we write a text in a row in Notion, for it to automatically put that text inside of a Canva document, a Canva design. Well, with Zapier, Canva and Notion, right? This is just my example. I don't know if there actually is. And so Zapier, what it will do is allow us to get into the back end of each tool, and then it will create like a temporary integration using the API. So lots of fancy words to say. It'll make these 2 tools that don't currently speak to each other fluently. And so it'll just run tasks back and forth. So it's like tells Notion, if there's another row added into the document, then it speaks it back to Canva to then create a document, create an image based on that text in that document. So Zapier works in so many different amazing ways. But this is just the tip of the icebergs on the tools that we can use to leverage and grow our small businesses and give us more automation. A lot of these tools that I've mentioned here also a lot help with asynchronous work. So that's where you would send a Loom video or a tutorial explaining how to do something for a team member that's at the other side of the world that may not be able to join with you real time to see what's going on or to see how to do that thing. Again, if there's any questions, let us know in the chat. We're going to open it up to Q&A shortly. But before we open it to Q&A, I'm going to talk to you all about the Tech Stack Tracker. Georgie, what's a Tech Stack Tracker? Don't mind. I tell you more. So, Tech Stack Tracker is something that we created here at GSD Solutions to help you manage your company's tech stack with ease. So, if you don't know what even a tech stack is pretty much just all the different technology tools, mainly software, that you use in order to get your days done. So, whether you're using Loom, Zoom, Screencastify, what else? Zapier, just all the different tools that you're using, because most of them have a subscription model, as well as sometimes you don't have, you're not aware of, what's it called again? They have a subscription model and you're not aware of the usage. So are you actually using this tool to the max of its capabilities? So let's watch a quick explainer of how the Tech Stack Tracker actually works.
Hey there, it's Georgie from GSD Solutions. I'm super excited that you were able to download this tracker, and I wanted to tell you a little bit more about how it works. So we created this tracker as a tech stack tracker to help folks ensure that they're using their tech tools in the most efficient and most profitable ways. Because what ended up happening is that folks will subscribe to a bunch of tools, especially if you are a small or medium-sized company. You subscribe to a bunch of tools, you're not using them, they're costing you, whether it's monthly, yearly, bi-weekly, and you're overspending, and the tools that are now piling on top of your tech stack end up making you less efficient than actually being efficient. So you're wasting not only money on these tools, but you're also wasting time. So this tracker was made to help you optimize and get some of that time as well as money back. So when you get the tracker, you want to definitely read this first page. In order to make a copy, you could click to make a copy or go up to File and then make a copy. Once you have your copy, you're going to go into the tech stack tracker. So the tech stack tracker, that's where everything lives. So we have a document that explains all of the different columns and all of the different what you should put into the role. So we have a few sections: main details, associated costs, and then we have some just general tool utilization factors. So what you want to do is list your tech tool. So here we have an example, item A, B, C, and D. Then you're going to select the category. So for this final tool, let's say it's a data analytics tool and we pay $1,500 for a year, and then the frequency is yearly. So you have the frequency options. And what that does for you is just estimates the cost per month, and it also estimates the cost per year. I would want to fill out as much details as I can about this tool. Some key ones that I want to highlight is: when does the contract expire? How many user licenses? Have you downgraded or upgraded your business and you need more licenses? As well as what department is this license primarily serving, and the uses and the features. Because what we may not realize is that we're doubling up on features, or a platform has upgraded and now we are underutilizing the feature. So for example, let's say we have two platforms. One was used for video calling and the other one was used for scheduling. Now the scheduling platform has upgraded to have a video calling solution directly inside the platform, so we may not need that second platform for video scheduling for video calling anymore, and we want to evaluate this. And then lastly, the text at monthly cost dashboard is going to be a chart that shows you exactly how much is being spent per month in each category. And as you add categories and select new ones, it will increase and decrease. So I highly recommend not editing anything in column F. That's where the formulas live, to calculate how much is spent per month, and then syncing it up with the different categories that you select. So ensure that you select the category, you include the cost of the tool, simply by putting in the cost of the tool and then the frequency. It'll automatically calculate the monthly and annual cost. I hope this tracker is helpful for you and your business. If you have any questions about additional ways to optimize your workflow, optimize your business, GSD Solutions, that's what we specialize in and we can support. You can head on over to our website, gsdsolutionsinc.com, to chat with us. And if you see a section of this template that should be upgraded or added for future purposes, we're going to keep on upgrading this initial template. So if you've made copies already, and this is maybe the second time you're watching this video, as time goes on, we will be updating and making it more efficient to help business owners, small and medium-sized businesses, or even individuals better manage their tech tools and optimize their workflow. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye, y'all.
Alrighty, so that was the tech stack tracker, and you could, if you're watching the replay, the link will be in the description, as well as if you're watching in real time, we just put the link in the comments. So make sure you take advantage of this, and it's available on our website. It's a free download. Again, it's a Google Sheet, and it just helps you to manage this. There are definitely softwares so to help you do this, but as a small and medium-sized business, you may not fully need that software just yet. And I like to recommend that folks try and do things in a manual way first, right? Learn how it's structured, see the ins and outs of it, because putting into the software will also just make you forget it again. So just making sure, getting into the nooks and crannies of like, what am I actually paying for? What am I using? We've done the tech stack tracker overview as well as like a tech stack consultation with clients, and they realized that they were spending hundreds and sometimes even thousands of dollars in places that using tools that they no longer use. An annual subscription would come up $1,500, and then you tell yourself, I don't use that thing, but maybe next year I'll use it. So okay, sure, it renewed. You haven't used it for the last 4 years. I doubt you're going to use it next year. So how can we make better, more strategic decisions in the tech tools that we use, especially as small and medium-sized business owners, is the key. So that $1,500 could have been an investment into a different tech tool that will actually be helpful to your business, or a marketing list or a marketing campaign, or just something else that you can actually use to grow and scale your business versus overspending and not really paying attention to the new trends and things that are coming out in order to grow and scale. Awesome. So now we're going to open it up for a Q&A. And I'm going to invite my colleague Fred from the GSD Solutions team, and we're going to just discuss some of the things that we've gone over today so far.
Hi, everyone. Pretty exciting to be here. Georgie, I was just taking notes over all of your presentation and just, getting insights here. And I just want to echo something you said. AI is not going to take your job if you know how to use AI. That couldn't be more truth. I remember when ChatGPT launched, I think about 2 years or a year and a half ago, and the amount of videos that popped up everywhere. You're just scrolling your Instagram or TikTok and you'd see a video. This is what ChatGPT can do. These are the latest AI features. And people start to get really scared in the comments, just commenting, just sharing the idea that they're going to lose their jobs because ChatGPT and AI is going to do things that they're doing. And then fast forward to today, about 2 years later, did you lose your job to ChatGPT, or did you start integrating ChatGPT into the work that you were already doing? So if you know how to use AI, you are fine. You are secured because AI is going to be integrated into your work routine, but it's not necessarily going to be replacing you in what you do.
Absolutely. And I think that's so important for us to let people know, because it is nerve-wracking, right? You're like, if this technology could just do all the things that I've been doing, what do I do with my day? And I think that's a question that we've been getting a lot from people or just seeing in the media, is that if it's doing the 10 tasks that I have on my list, well, that means you have to now rethink your task list. More of your day could be looking into combining information that you receive by using AI. It can be testing out different processes and systems. It can be learning more, experimenting more, thinking, right? Thinking is something that, ideation process, right? Like, how can we do this different? How can we make more impact? How, that allows you to really have creativity be back into your role, creativity, curiosity. And I know a lot of people may not want that in their role, or better yet, have gotten used to not having that in their roles, because while different industries are growing, especially when we think of like knowledge work, half the work is just thinking about it. Half the work is just thinking about it. And so if half the work is thinking about it and then the other half was doing it, now you could spend more time thinking about it and thinking through different things, or having more smaller tests based on gathering that data or gathering information by leveraging AI to now have more to think about and combinations. And like I said, not just thinking, but also testing those combinations versus planning out the test of those combinations, which would have taken you manually a longer time. Now you have, the AI to support you. You could do those tests faster. And inside of those tests, you might actually spend a lot more time in those tests.
Yeah, and this is why we say the work's going to be reimagined, because you're going to use AI and you're going to spend way less time, much less time working on manual tasks and repetitive tasks, and you're going to have more time to focus on thinking, strategizing tasks.
Deep
It's
work.
exactly deep work, which is what we want to do, and what's going to generate the profit, right? Well, the first thing I want to ask you, Georgie, ask both of us actually to start our discussion is going to be, what are some of the best tools that small businesses can use to leverage AI in automation? Because we know, and whoever who's watching us right now, they know that they need to use AI in automation, but how can they do that? What are the tools that they can use?
Yeah, so the top three that immediately came to my mind, and we could go down this, we could talk about this for hours, but immediately the first thing that came to my mind is Zoom, right? Mainly because a lot of us are already on Zoom, have a Zoom account, have been using Zoom, but we're only using like this much of what Zoom has to offer. And Zoom, like I said, has an AI companion tool. So as we are meeting, especially as we do virtual and hybrid and remote work, what if you are trying to not multitask, but if you ran late to the meeting, the Zoom AI companion, you could literally type in the companion search to see, can you summarize what has happened so far, right? Life happens, and maybe you're 5 minutes, 10 minutes late, and you don't want to have to pause the meeting to now have your team recap everything that they've said, or take 20 minutes to read the notes that has been taken. Having the AI companion quickly summarize, like, Fred said XYZ, Georgie said XYZ, and if you need deeper details on those points, you can look at the transcript, right? So leveraging these tools that are available to you directly at your fingertips already, especially with Zoom, and then understanding how Zoom has so much more tools, right? Like, I cannot stress that enough. Zoom has so many more tools that can help us out in our workplace every single day. So that's the first one I thought of.
And you know what's best about Zoom is
Go
that
ahead.
that is included in your subscription. People
That
don't
is
even know that. They're like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna use Zoom AI because I'm gonna have to pay $50 a month. You don't have to do that.
it's
If you have that
included.
pro account, it's
Mm-hmm.
included.
And more tools these days are including access to their AI tools directly into the pricing. So in the beginning, I think a lot of folks, they were testing it out. They weren't sure, right? They were doing tests. And so it's like, oh, add on $5. But a lot of companies, inflation is happening. So they're increasing their prices, but they're also evolving their packages to automatically include the AI tool, because they know if you're leveraging the AI tool, it'll make your usage of that platform, of that tool, more high quality, right? So instead of I'm having this issue and I'm going to read 45 articles, spending 10 hours of my time, now I'm a disgruntled user. Boom, 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 ask the AI tool, where can I find this information? It'll help you. You'll execute on that information. And then now you are a happy customer. You're going to keep coming back. So they built out and tested out these AI tools to use to your advantage.
Yeah, and I gotta say,
Go ahead.
the first time I used Zoom AI Companion, I was like, they promise, it's going to be a companion for your meeting. It's going to be there with you. It's going to help you get work done faster. First time I used AI Companion is basically like this taskbar on the side, this panel on the side where you can ask like any questions about any content or anything that was said in the meeting. So sometimes you're just like, you're doing something else, you're multitasking, we've all been there, right? And you're going to be able to ask the Zoom Companion questions about the content of the meeting. So I can ask like what Georgie told me to do, or like what are the key topics that were covered in this meeting over the last 5 minutes. Sometimes you're gonna join a meeting later, like 5-10 minutes later, you're gonna have the chance to ask the Zoom companion about the content that you missed. So it's really good. We highly recommend that you use it. And besides that, you attend the event that we're going to be doing Wednesday, July 17th. I dropped the link in here in the chat in the comments. So you just registered for that. It's going to be a great event with Zoom on how to create another culture and how to use these tools as well. Now, I'm going to complement the answer to the question that I posed, like what are some of the tools? And I mean, Zoom is like that tool that we don't think of when we're talking about AI. I'm gonna go with the most obvious one, ChatGPT, because yes, you've heard of ChatGPT, it's out there, it's a good system, but you don't know what it can do. Because I thought, and I'm gonna tell you guys, like when ChatGPT was launched, it just had like those simple features where it can ask questions to ChatGPT and it can generate text. And that was it. And like 2 years later, people still expect the same thing from ChatGPT. They don't know it can go through websites. They don't know it can create documents. It can analyze documents. You can just drop
Spreadsheets. Yeah.
exactly. You just drop a file there and it analyzes the whole thing for you. Or you can just say like, oh, I want you to analyze this website for me. You can just drop the link to the website. It's going to access that website and get your task done. And people just don't know that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and how did you find out about that? So I hope your answer is going to be what I think it is. But how did you find out it had those features?
You know, I think that's a good question because we're talking about a lot of trends and a lot of AI and tools and everything. And I'm like, how do we keep up with everything that's going on? And you're watching us. You must be thinking that how do I keep up with all these tools because it's new all the time. To that question specifically, Georgie, I found out just testing ChatGPT. I started like playing with it and I was like, how can I do this? Can I do this? Am I allowed to do that? I asked ChatGPT as if it was a human being, you know, just to find out how it worked. But I think if you are active on social media and if you follow people who are talking about AI on LinkedIn, especially because LinkedIn is going to be all things job market related, right? And if you follow content creators out there, you know, if you participate in a summit like this that we're doing, you're going to be up to date on the tools. So just, you know, play with these tools, but also follow people online who are talking about them.
Yeah, and that is exactly the answer that I was looking for, right? Like playing. And we, you know, as you get older, folks think like playing is not important. But playing is a synonym for testing, right? Like experimenting with it, just going in and pushing the limits. What can this do? What do I want it to do? Can it do that yet? And then looking up, you know, help docs. And that's really where the GSD solutions, like that's where our YouTube channel has become so popular. We don't have millions of followers on our YouTube, so subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just a little shameless plug right there. But we offer value. We started being curious around how to do different things, and we saw that other people didn't know how to do these things as well. Oh, let me make a quick tutorial. Let me explain. I was curious to figure out how do I do XYZ. I figured it out, then I decided to share. So that's why you're saying like follow different creators, follow different YouTube channels, follow different LinkedIn page, but start with your own curiosity. Curiosity can help you so much in the field of business. And as AI evolves, you are going to be required to be more curious, more thoughtful, and more experimental in the work that you do. You have to play. You have to play. That is going to be a requirement
Yeah.
in the future of work.
I think what's gonna set people apart, honestly, is gonna be willingness to do these
Yeah.
stuff. Because a lot of people, I think most people are gonna look at AI tools. They're gonna be like, yeah, I mean, I don't know how to use it. I don't think it's gonna be that useful, and my job is okay. And they're not gonna do anything. But those people who are actually playing with these tools, they're doing it just for fun. Sometimes, like I know I did, and you did too, Georgie. They are the ones who are gonna be setting themselves apart, right, in the market. And now, I wanted to ask you a more specific question. Let's go through, I think, like a bit of a case study. Let's say that you want to do something that every business out there needs to do, a marketing strategy. It doesn't matter what your industry is. It doesn't matter what your product or service is. You're going to need a marketing strategy to put your business out there. How can you create a marketing strategy leveraging AI?
How can you make a marketing strategy leveraging AI? First, again, testing curiosity, and I would say execute on. So more for me personally, I'm not fully aware, so maybe you could jump in and tell me some tools to create the strategy, but I'm more so thinking of tools to execute on the strategy. So
Yeah.
I know one tool that we use to execute on our marketing strategy is called ManyChat. So ManyChat is a DM automation tool that is primarily used on Instagram and Facebook. It is connected. It's a verified Meta partner, so it also, you can do it on WhatsApp, Facebook, and Instagram. And there's some other, you can do like SMS and things of that nature. But when a person is commenting, so I've been really doing a lot on content creation on social media in the last couple of months, and you end up getting thousands of comments. And if you're trying to have a person convert, you can say, if you need this thing, if you're trying to do XYZ, put a comment with this keyword down below, and it'll automatically send a direct message to that person based on their comment. And that saves hundreds of hours. I can't even tell you how many automations we've done. We've used this with our clients. We at GSD Solutions, we're a ManyChat partner. And so if you're interested in that, you could definitely set a call with us. Use the link down below, visit bit.ly/GSD-talk, or just go to gsdsolutionsinc.com and hit Let's Talk. But to get back narrowed down, like using ManyChat has saved us hundreds of hours because it's an automated tool. We set it up, we have it run, and then now we could just focus on creating the content, executing, recording, editing. Another tool that I can mention is Opus Clips as well as Video.ai. So both of these tools, what they do is, let's say you have a 30-minute video, 10-minute, etc., and originally, in order to create clips, you'd have to watch the video, find the clips, then cut it, then add captions and all that nature.
Takes a long time to do all
takes
that.
a long time. And what these apps do, these solutions, these software tools do, is that you upload the video to the platform, you select the type of design that you want for the captions, and it will find the time slots, clip them, and put captions with little emojis in it too. So that is 3 tasks that you would need to do that are now off of your task list. The only thing you needed to do is record, and then you have an opportunity to review the clips, because nothing is perfect, whether it's a human or AI, nothing is perfect. And so you still want to do a quick glance, a quick review. But as more and more people use these tools, they're getting smarter and more resourceful and more helpful to identify, okay, this is a better spot to cut versus that spot. Because I know when I experimented in the beginning, certain ones I'm like, I don't know. But as time goes on, everything learns, right? Nothing is perfect, and everything learns.
Yeah.
It has evolved, and now it's saving hours and hours of time.
And how did you find out it was really useful? You'd play with it. You just
Play
put
with it.
videos there and you created stuff and you were like, oh, wait, this is useful. Because if you had, let's say you recorded a 1-hour video, if you had to clip that video into, I don't know, 30 other short video clips for social media, and you have to add captions and add emojis and add everything, you would take hours on end to do that. You just drop it on Opus Clips. You can just Google it to find the platform. If you drop the video, the 1-hour video, it's going to take, 5 minutes for you to do the whole process. And you have like the 30 clips ready to go, and you can post them from the platform directly into your social media. So it's amazing. And I love how you opened with ManyChat, because I think ManyChat is a good example of automation. Sometimes we don't really, I think, understand the difference between AI and automation, like AI is going to be more so like they're going to analyze the content or analyze the input that you put, and automation is going to operationalize things for you. It's going to implement things for you. It has that difference. So ManyChat is a good automation example, not AI. But another thing I was just thinking, the first step, what's the first step when you're going to create a marketing strategy? You're going to think about your audience. You're going to think about personas. And how can you use AI to do that? You can actually create these personas and create content about personas, try identification of the personas using AI. And then you're going to say, Fred, hold on a minute, but I'm going to ask ChatGPT to do that for me. How can I trust the information ChatGPT is giving me? Well, 2 years ago, when we first had the AI tools in the market, that was the big question, because they were just out there and people were just playing with it. Obviously, so were the companies behind them, right? But nowadays, all of these AI tools, recognizing this ethical dilemma and recognizing this need, they have tools within the platform to test information. So if you go to Google's AI tool, Gemini, it's a really good tool, and you want to fact check the information, there is going to be an icon, like a little G icon where you can click, and it's going to fact check all of the things the AI just gave you with link to website. ChatGPT has the same thing, by the way. It's going to give you link to website. It's going to give you the source where it took that information. So you can actually ask these questions and create a persona with reliable information, which is exactly what we want, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that fact checking part is super important, because while it's a great tool, right? Misinformation is a real thing. And there are even campaigns of people trying to put out misinformation. So it's up to you as an individual that's looking up and researching this information to say, yes, I'm super happy with this result, but if I want to look a little bit deeper, let's see where this result came from. So that way you at least have the knowledge and you can go back and look at the source. If yourself or your team or anyone that you're working with ever questions, like, where did this come from? You can actually have those answers for it. And I love how you separated like automation versus AI. And when I think of like my framework, the 5 Ps of like purpose, plan, produce, profit, play, right? We talked about play a lot. And so if we were to break it down, right, using AI itself to like do research, gather information, that's more of like the planning, and then producing, right, doing the work, that's the more of the automation phase. So definitely seeing how all of this ties together, because how we work is going to evolve, and it has been evolving for years and decades, and it's never going to stop evolving. And I would say there was a significant chunk of time between the late 90s the late 1900s, and so maybe from like I'll say like the 70s to maybe like early 2000s, where for like 3 decades, which was really unheard of, like a lot of style didn't change, a lot of technology didn't change, right? Like it was small tweaks, but it wasn't really like immersively new technology, immersively new things. And that was the first time that that type of thing had happened. And so we kind of all got used to like life like this, life like a certain way. And then the pandemic came along and like shuffled us and reminded us that like, hey, you thought you got it all figured out, but nope, do it
You
again.
don't.
You don't.
Exactly.
And it pushed us to really rethink. And so that's why we were having this called Work Reimagined. It pushed us all to reimagine how we did stuff in our lives, whether it was work, how we, this could have been called Play Reimagined. It could have been called Life Reimagined. But we really want to focus on work because we spend so much time of our lives working. The majority of our lives is spent working. So age 0 through 18, we're in school. And if we live up until, let's say retirement age 65 and hopefully more than that, that's over 60 years of work. So thinking through how we work, why we work, how the future of work is going to look for us, and how we can make sure that we set ourselves up for success as companies, as individuals, as freelancers is going to be essential now and at all times. So just making sure you're following pages like ours and different content creators and different news sources and articles and blogs, because it's constantly changing, and being aware of that change is going to be what sets you apart from everyone else that may lose their job. Are there going to be people that lose their job because of this stuff? Absolutely. But it's not going to be the reason you think. It's not because the thing was invented. It's because they refuse to change and evolve and be curious and play and learn with the stuff that's coming out. That's going to be what causes them to lose their job.
Yeah, now let me ask you this. What if in 1990 or like 1985, you had a full summits that would give you the step by step on how to use the internet or personal computers or iPhones, for example? Like you would see, I mean, I didn't live that time, so I don't know. But I think you would
Me
see a
neither.
lot of people. Yeah, okay. You'd see a lot of people back then saying, yeah, I'm not going to do this because that's not going to be important. But you would also see
Mhm.
people joining it, taking the step-by-step guide and actually leveraging that to improve their lives and to get ahead of the competition. So that's what we're doing right now. It's a summit on a step-by-step guide on how to use these tools. We name dropped so many tools, dozens of tools. So if you're paying attention, you can just go ahead and Google them and start using them today, because that's really going to set you apart.
And then if you're following us on YouTube, definitely subscribe. I'm going to put back up the YouTube link on the screen. But if you are subscribed to if you're not already following us, make sure that you go to the YouTube page for GSD Solutions, because a lot of the tools that we talked about in this summit, we share tutorials and reviews and explainers and quick bites of information on them. If you have any questions, we're super responsive. You can reach out to us at support@GSD Solutions, as well as on the GSD Solutions website and our chat bot. But we really want to be at the intersection of the information and then the evolution, because we know it's tedious. It's very overwhelming to get all of the information at once or to process it. And so we plan to work, and we have been working with different organizations, mainly small to medium-sized businesses, to not just discover the new technology that's out there, but also integrate and leverage the new technology so that way they can be at the forefront of business evolution and grow and maximize their company. So we're coming up on the end of the summit. Is there any final thoughts you want to share, Fred, before we close it out?
Yeah, I just think, I love the play analogy, like you have to be curious. And I know like you're going to look at children and going to be like, yeah, they're playing, they're curious. And you think, oh, because I'm an adult, I can't do that. No, you got bills to pay, but you also have the right to play and to have fun with these things and be curious about it. If you are curious, if you participate online, if you engage with people, if you join summits like this one, and you talk to us, you make that extra commitment, you're going to be ahead of your competition, and also you're going to have a lot of time for yourself, for your business, and for deep work. I can tell you from personal experience, we have been using AI, at GSD Solutions for quite some time now, and we have gained a lot of hours back into our day by optimizing content creation, by optimizing strategy building, by optimizing email writing. And I mean, we wouldn't be able to do this if we were doing this 3 years ago, but now we are, because things are changing. So I just wanted to appreciate everyone for tuning in today and for listening to what we had to say and sharing our insights. insights. I do hope that you take advantage of it. And yeah, if you need anything from us, if you have any questions, we are more than happy to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Friday. I couldn't have said it better myself. So as I mentioned before, definitely check us out on YouTube. Head on over to our website, schedule a call with us. We're happy to talk. We're going to keep on doing more content and in our blog and talking more around how you can reimagine work, because it's never going to stop evolving and changing. It's just, can you evolve with it? And how are you maintaining the growth as technology grows, as the world changes and evolves? So thank you so much for attending and watching the Work Reimagined Summit. This will not be the first nor the last one. This is the first, but it won't be the last one. We really appreciate all the support, and we will see you next time. All right. Bye,
See you,
everybody.
everyone. Bye.